What up, what up, what up, what up? It's me, L Teddy 27.
What's good tonight? Right about the hood.
Oh, dear God, I'm already eating a drink.
Look, a damn mess. Just a damn mess. No means no, and yes means no.
What up, 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 what up? What's good, people? What's up? It's me, L Teddy 27, and I'm back for another review. Being silly again. This is going to be our review for the Real Housewives of Potomac. This is season 5. This is episode 21, I guess. It's the reunion part 2. Let's call it that. So we start off. Let me also start by saying this. I had a conversation with one of my fellow reviewers. Shouts out to Really BTV. Her and I had a conversation, and I was telling her, I said, I feel like after not week 1, but part 1 of the reunion, everything involved with part 1 of the reunion, that the other 2 parts, I don't know, and I don't think they designed it this way, but with everything that happened at the end of part 1, with the Jamal Bryant video and everything, and how social media has been a buzz, and social media damn near broke down off of Real Housewives of Potomac reunion part 1. I just felt like, how could parts 2 and part 3, even if in its original inception they appear to be better than part 1, with everything that got attached to part 1 and all of the things outside of the reunion itself that got attached to it and everything that's going on, it was hard for me to see how parts 2 and 3 would live up to everything that part 1 was. And part 2 was anticlimactic after part 1. I'm going to have to admit, not that it was bad in any other year, any other franchise, any other reunion. It would have been better than part 1. But this time, it was a little low, whereas you generally want the reunions to continue to grow in intensity and so forth. It just didn't happen with part 2, because there was no way it could have kept, the same energy and intensity of part 1. There was no way, and it didn't. Even with them bringing up the fight, because we've discussed the fight, so many freaking times that there's nothing new. And even though the Giselle and Jamal Bryant situation is old as well, it just seems fresher with everything that happened outside of just the reunion, with the Jamal Bryant live, and Monique response, and Gigi's live, and all of those. It just it just couldn't live up to it. But we're gonna unpack this anyway. So we start off. They still got Monique confronting Giselle about Jamal, and like I said, it was very anticlimactic at this point, because we got so much information outside of the reunion, and so much has happened since then. So this was like, oh, okay. So this was the aftermath. I don't know. It was so anticlimactic. So then, it is what it is. We have so much information about that at this point that why rehash it? My basic takeaways from it is, Giselle, you're trash. You've been trash for a long time. You have been starting up a whole lot of shit for a long time, and now, what is it? The old adage, your chickens have come to roost. Girl, don't look for anybody to feel bad for you. Don't cry for me, Argentina. Do not look for any sympathy over here in the sympathy corner, because you have been the catalyst and agent by which a lot of fuck shit and fuckery have happened on this show and with other people in their real lives. Nobody's going to feel bad for you, Giselle. You're trash. Your fake relationship is trash. Your antics are trash. You're trash. We're going to get to that a little bit later, too. Then we segue to Ashley's booty hole. As someone who's seen a lot of booty holes, dealt with a lot of booty holes in my life, as a member of the Rainbow Push Coalition, I want no parts of Ashley's booty hole. No, but and then she ceremoniously told us it took months to heal. Months. You want to know why? Because that racist sexual deviant that you're married to over there, Satana, let that racist sexual deviant shove his penis inside your wrecked out booty hole over and over and over to relive out all of his to do reenactments and relive all of his homosexual escapades that he's had all across the globe. Not just all over the fruited plains, but all across the globe. And he's reenacting these homosexual escapades that he's had in your reptile booty hole. That's why it took you months to heal. And you let him. We'll get that there later. She claims that her husband is only attracted to women. I mean, I can go with that if you want to put science behind it, knowing that every human in the human species starts off female. You start off every, zygote, every time the sperm enters an egg, you learn in human growth and development, human embryology, that they all start off XX chromosome. Then at a certain point during the pregnancy, there's a hormone released by the, and then that second X changes to a Y and they become male. But they all start off female. So if you want to go with that science, I'll go with you. But you over here claiming that he's only attracted to women. I'm not doing this with you, Ashley. First of all, Ashley, on every turn, this man does everything he can to embarrass you, to put you in a negative light, to put you in positions where you look like a plumb fool. And it's easy to do because it's not hard to see that you are not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Nobody is looking for Ashley Darby to be competing in any type of intellectual Olympics, to have any type of intellectually stimulating conversation where I'm going to leave there feeling as if I've amassed a certain amount of knowledge and gained a certain amount of information and intellect after having heard her. That is not your story. And generally, see, now we can go down this road, okay? Now we're back on you, Satana, okay? Let me tell you, this is the ploy of racist slave owners back in the day. They preyed on the slaves that they knew did not have all of the intelligence, was just a pretty face and a hot box to shove their penis into. They knew that this person was not well off, they were poor, and that if you threw any amount of pennies at them, they would be okay with the pennies. So they snatched them up out of the slave quarters. They put them into the big house. They dressed them up in the fancy clothing. And when they fixed the master's food and his family's food, maybe they could eat a little bit of the nice, good food. Maybe they can taste what fine dining is when they're in the kitchen putting the plates together and plating their dishes and so forth. And so now when they feel like, oh, I have on these nice clothes, oh, I can be in the big house where it's not as hot, oh, I can be, not subjected to the whip and so forth like my family members are, or like the rest of my race is, I can be in the house. So what that means is I have to protect Massa at every turn. I have to do everything to make sure that Massa keeps his fortune, that Massa stays out of trouble. Because if he loses his money and he loses his fortune and he goes down, I'm going to go down with him because I won't have access to all of his scruples. I won't have access to all of his money and these nice clothing and this nice food that he has in here and this nice, big, wonderful house. That's what the fuck you got going on, Ashley. So you let this racist, sexual deviant embarrass you at all costs, because you'll take the embarrassment, because I'll take a little embarrassment verbally. I'll be shunned and be embarrassed if it means that I don't have to be out in the sun picking tobacco or cotton or whatever else the massa was growing out in the fields in 1,000-degree heat. I'm not subjected to the same whip and lashings that others have to be subjected to. My slave quarters are a little bit nicer than everyone else's slave quarters. So I will protect Massa at all costs, because by protecting him, I interests. That's what the fuck you got going on, Ashley. A fucking mess. Then they got to the whole grabbing the producer's butt and situation. And like I said, she's never going to hold him accountable. If y'all are looking for Ashley Darby to hold her Massa over here accountable, to hold this racist, sexual deviant accountable of anything, you're reaching. She's never going to do that. And as you can see, neither is her family. Because when her family had the opportunity we saw a couple episodes ago to really go to town with him, they didn't do it as well. They didn't do it either. Just a mess. Just a whole fucking mess. Satana, you deserve whatever you get. At this point, I have no understanding for you, no sympathy for you. You deserve whatever you get at this point, Satana. You are a horrible person inside and out. That's why you try to be nasty. And see, she has all the characteristics of the same black person, but you're a house Negro and not not a field one. And so what you try to do is you try to throw jabs, you try to be all pious and nose in the air, and you do everything you can to call out everything that another black person does, to make every little slight that they do so magnified, to make everything that they do so horrible. But Massa is over here doing things exponentially worse, way more egregious. But you're going to explain it away. You're never going to hold him accountable. Why? Because it's Massa. And if he loses his fortune, so do you. Fucking train wreck. A fucking train wreck. You and your little omen baby over there, Damien. Damien, 666, devil child. Fucking mess. Then we segued into Karen and Ray's marriage. No one cares. I don't care about Karen and Ray's marriage. Nobody cares. Nobody. Karen probably don't even care about her own fucking marriage, which is why you claim you ain't having sex with your own husband for 2.5 years. So clearly you ain't care about your own marriage. A fucking mess. Moving on. Too much focus in this episode. Let me tell you why the episode was anticlimactic. Too much focus was placed on Karen and her level brand of fuckery. Way too much. She's old. She's a liar. She will not own up to anything that she says, okay? She's trash. She is trash by every sense of the word. She, let me tell you what she does. She avoids all subjects involving her getting called out, involving her telling the truth, involving her taking ownership of what goes on. And rather than accept that, and rather than admit and take ownership of her stuff, no, she wants to focus on everybody else's stuff and attach herself to everybody else's stuff and try to have a good, quick read off of everybody else's story and try to have a good comeback and try to have a good one-liner off of everybody else's story so that you seem better, so that you can go up in other people's estimations on the backs of someone else's story. Now, if that ain't the definition of clout chasing, I don't know what is. When I look up clout chasing in the dictionary, your picture is there along with Giselle. Because let's be clear, Karen and Giselle are the same person. Neither one of them getting a box beat in by anybody. Both of them are old as hell. Okay? Both of them never want to take ownership of their fuck shit, but they always want to attach themselves to everybody else's stuff. They always want to highlight what everybody else going on. They always want to carry a bone. They always want to try to have a quick read for somebody else's situation, but never want to take ownership of their own. The only difference between Karen and Giselle is Karen dresses better than Giselle. And that's it. That's the only difference. And so that's why the people see it for Karen a little more than they do Giselle, because Giselle's fashion sense is better. But they're both trash. They're both horrible human beings. They are both two old people that have allowed horrible fuckery inside of them to fester decade after decade after decade after decade after decade. And after all of those decades of fuck shit, crap, and fuckery festering, it has morphed into something so horrible, so grotesque, so toxic that every time you see them on the screen, every time they open their mouth, it just spews out toxicity and venom that nobody needs any parts of. Get Karen the fuck off my television screen because she's fucking trash. Her and Giselle, they're fucking trash. And these women have birthed children and have added to the gene pool. There's another scary notion. Moving on. Then they talked about the rumor about Monique sleeping with the trainer. And I was with the rest of them. Monique, you tried to harp on that. Girl, it was not even a major storyline on the show. So you're doing more damage, Monique, by trying to make it more of a situation than it should have been. Because like I said, it wasn't even a major, it was an afterthought this season. So by you bringing it up and saying, oh, it was this big thing, you are making it more of a thing than it has to be. But I expect these things from you, Monique, because you ain't the sharpest knife in the drawer either. So moving on. So then we got to the fight. Now, when we go back to the root of before I get there, let me just say, we all see and know that the real reason for the fight is there was a lot going on in Monique's life, not involving Candace, and Candace became the recipient of all of her pent-up anger and aggression and all of her feeling and emotions, and Candace was an easy target, and Candace was someone that she could channel all of her anger with everything going on with her business, failing business, with her everything going on in her household, with her children, with her husband, with everything, with her mother-in-law. All of this pent up anger about everything could be taken out on Candace because she was an easy target. But if I'm gonna go with what you're telling me, see, I'm gonna give. See, people think that I'm Team Candace. I'm really not Team Candace at all. I ain't Team nobody because I don't like none of these whores. But you Team Monique people be real serious, way too serious. So I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna play this little game with you Team Monique people. You trashy ass Team Monique people. Let me just put that out there. You trashy ass Team Monique people. I said it. You can get in the comment section, say whatever the hell you want to say. Now, y'all are hanging on to every whim and every word, syllable, letter, and character of what Monique says. All right, let's go with her twisted, sadistic mind. So she says that this season, her issue with Candace is because they were trying to mend fences and make their relationship better, and they were doing that. But then when Candace invited Sharice to this party and became friends with Sharice, that was unforgivable. Now let me take some of you whores down this road, okay? This is back to the 5th, 6th grade bullshit where because you are not friends with somebody, there you get to dictate to all of your friends who they can be friends with. Because you're not friends with this person, your friends can't be friends with them either because we're back in 5th and 6th grade. Some of you same people who have a problem with, who don't have a problem, I should say, with Monique trying to dictate who Candace can be friends with and invite to her events that Bravo's paying for, are the very same people who, if we look at a show like Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, y'all got a problem with Jen because Jen is doing the same thing, trying to dictate who can be friends with Mary. Y'all got a problem with that when it's Jen and Mary, but y'all got no problems over here when it's Monique doing that to Candace. I want y'all to explain this now. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. I'm trying. When we get to the fight. Now, remember, her story from the beginning was, oh, I blacked out. I didn't know what happened. A mess. Yet, you blacked out, but you were cognitive enough. You were cognitive enough, and you had the conscious of mind enough to know and see and realize in the middle of all of this fight, oh, Candace has broken glass and is flailing these shards of glass, and I'm going to hold on to her because I see these shards of glass flailing around. Mind you, nobody involved knew or saw broken glasses because it was so much going on. It happened so fast. There's no way you could tell me that you was that conscious of mind, especially if you was blacked out. Because this story of how and why this happened, Monique, has changed 842 times. Let's be clear. Because you keep changing it. The goalpost keeps changing, sweetheart. The goalpost keeps changing. Then you admitted, well, no, before we get to your admittance. So then you, the first admission was, oh, I got a part of it wrong. Because you said out of your own mouth that you thought it was Candace that pushed you, and you were wrong. It was actually Giselle that pushed you, and you had gotten that wrong. Mind you, then you said to us that you watched the footage over and over and over. I've seen this footage thousands of times. So what that tells me, Monique, is when someone is studying this footage like you apparently have studied it, because you, instead of saying, I'm going to let my lawyers study this, and because they're going to be the ones coming up with the defense, and all I need to concern myself is this court of law, and that's why I paid these attorneys who get paid to look at this footage thousands and thousands and thousands of times so that they can break down everything that needs to be broken down in a court of law. That is not what you did, Monique, as went and studied this footage for the purpose of concocting stories, for the purpose of coming up with fictitious reasons as to why this happened, or why that happened, or how this happened, and how that happened. So when I get in front of some these girls, and I get in front of the camera, I could have made up and concocted every reason to explain away why I was wrong. That's what happened. That's really why you were studying this footage over and over and over. You were coming up with and creating, okay, I moved my hand this way. Okay, I grabbed that part. Okay, let me come up with a good enough reason as to why that happened. Let me concoct a fail-proof explanation for this. And it's not, dear one. Just a mess. Just a whole fucking mess. And this highlights, once again, Monique, that you are I wrote this down. This highlighted that you are the worst of us. You were coming up with reasons to explain away your wrongdoing instead of taking ownership of it. Instead of even in the aftermath wanting to say, you know what? Yep, I was wrong. You are concocting, and with the help of your whole team of people in social media and across the fruited plains, the team Monique people, because I'm sure you grabbed storylines from them. A mess. Just a fucking mess. This highlighted the real Monique. There is rage and there is anger in that young lady. And when you saw it was, she went, because we didn't see all of the parts, when she tried to go back in there and fight Candace after this was all over, we didn't see or hear, because Bravo didn't show it to us at that time, Candace saying, you're fired, you're gutter hood trash, you're fired, and so forth and so on, which is okay, because at that point you were acting like hood trash, and I would have every right to say that you're fired. You needed to be fired. When you put your hands on someone on the job, you should be fired. You were acting like trash. But what did you do in your response? Your response was, you were hell-bent on, as you said, and I quote, finishing the job. You said, well, if I'm fired, let me go finish the job. What does that mean, Monique? Explain to me what that means. Because you have broken glass and all kinds of weapons and blunt objects in this room. So when you go back in here to finish the job, Monique, please explain to me, when you're picked up, like you said, you even told us when you had the meeting with the girls afterwards, that you had so much rage and so much anger with them, and even like a week later you still said, sitting there with the girls, that you had so much rage and anger in you and you still can't get over it. So in that moment, when you were at the height of your rage and everything, when you went back in that room with Candace, what was going to happen? Explain that to me. Explain it. I really want to know what was going to happen. I mean, what more could you have done? And where you see where I'm going, right? Because what more could you have done? The only thing that you could have done that further than that is do something that would either cause her to be hospitalized or lose her life. And that's what you said you wanted to do. So for all you people trying to explain away her and her trash, she said that. It's just trash. It was trash. What happened? See, this shows you the real Monique, because this is not going to be an anomaly. It doesn't seem like it's an anomaly. She even admitted that she had been fighting as a young girl, so she claims. So if this is learned behavior, it will probably happen again. Because I guarantee you, somebody out there is going to trigger you again. So you're gonna be out here fighting and carrying on again. What happens when it's not on Bravo and there's no security around? Are you going to, quote, finish the job then? You're a horrible individual, Monique. You're a horrible individual. Now, conversely, Candace. Girl, now let me start off by saying I cannot speak to the amount of trauma and that Candace feels and all of her feelings. I cannot speak to that. I am not Candace, and I am not a clinical psychologist or a licensed psychiatrist with an MD. I cannot speak to the amount of trauma she actually feels or what she's going through. But what I can say is this, Candace. You set up here this whole reunion. Every time Monique got something to say, you got a slick comment. Every time she says something, you go on word for word and trying to read. Girl, if you that traumatized, one would say that you wouldn't even engage with her. You do not even engage with her. Do not engage the hostiles. We learned that from the movie Avatar. And if you're that traumatized by what happened, I wouldn't even listen. Now, if you really wanted to play the game, I'm traumatized, you know what I would have told Bravo? I cannot sit on the same stage with her. So what y'all can do is have me in another room and have a television screen where I can be on television screen talking to the girls from the television screen, because I can't be in the same room with her. If you're that traumatized. You don't even engage with her. This back and forth that you are having with her, if you were that traumatized, you would be in fear that she would come over here and perhaps do it again. But no. You was all carrying on, you throwing jabs back and forth at her. Then, when it came time and now they're showing the fight, now you over here crying and carrying on. Girl, make it make sense. Keep it cute now. Keep it together. Keep the trauma in order now. Now, if you're going to sell this trauma, because you was way overly dramatic. If you're going to sell us the trauma story, keep it together. Keep it in order. Because now you crying and carrying on and running off stage and this, that, and the third. Girl, you was just throwing jabs at her verbally. If you was just that traumatized when you came into the room with her, girl, you'll be like, nope, I can't do this. I'm leaving right now. Girl, I can't. It went off from them. Listen. Part 3 is coming up with the husbands joining next week. And I listen, let me help you understand something. I'm going to wait to see how part 3 goes. But if Chris Samuels goes up there and gets way too deep into this and starts showing his ass in the wrong way, or I'm going to give Chris Samuels about 20 minutes worth of my time on this next review. I'm telling you now. But I'm going to wait and see. This part was not as good as part 1, but we'll see. Maybe there'll be more people on live and videos and social media stuff after this second part of the review that will make it as good as the first part, but I just don't see it happening. Anyway, y'all, that's all I got for y'all. Until then, until next week, we'll be back. That's all I got. Thank y'all for coming. Y'all drive safely. Let's get in the comments. I'm out.